Go figure this one out, folks. John Gillette, the LD30 House of Representatives idiot, endorsed criminal convict crazy David Rose, who claims Lake Havasu is full of drunken sexual maniacal witches, even though John Gillette knows David Rose is not eligible to vote. And yet, listen to this, and watch how dramatic John Gillette acts with his theatrical throwing down of his evidence act. Listen and watch closely. Journalist Jennifer Esposito and political activist Penny Holden have exposed David Rose extensively. And to boot, John Gillette is exposing voting corruption, which is great. But he knows David Rose, the convict he endorsed, is corrupt and is ineligible to even vote, let alone have a seat in the Arizona House of Representatives. Lydia Durst Henry, the county recorder, is also mentioned in John Gillette's exposure. And when asked about David Rose's eligibility, cannot explain how David Rose was able to slip right through her fingers. Come on, Mohave County, try and figure that one out, people. You cannot make this stuff up. What's wrong with John Gillette? What a joke.
Why was this not caught by two different recorders, a Secretary of State? That's not a glitch. That's an on purpose. Have never lived in the state of Arizona. That's an on purpose. Stephen Richard telling recorders not to comply with the legislative public records request. That is not a glitch. That's an on purpose. The Secretary of State's numbers not matching the recorder's numbers is not a glitch. It's a federal crime. These are the numbers reported by the Secretary of State with his signature. His signature is still affixed to the form. That is a crime. It is not a glitch. This individual lives in Africa, has lived in Africa 20 years, but gets a ballot to his home every year. Not a glitch. That's a crime.
I saw the name on that. That's Lydia something.
No, that's
I thought it was intentional.
That is the recorder's name. We did not redact the recorder. Lydia Durst is the recorder.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't do it.
His name is not Lydia.
For the last 2 weeks, I've been trying to get information regarding the voting process, specifically verification process of the voting application of whether Mr. David Michael Rose is eligible to vote or hold office. I started in the recorder's office.
Lydia Durst is the recorder.
I asked her when a person comes in to register to vote, what procedures are in place to make sure they are eligible to vote. She stated that the applicant checks the box stating that the eligibility to vote under penalty of perjury, but they do not verify application at this office. I said that what department and what person checks accuracy of an application. She stated the voter list is sent to the courts every quarter and whenever it's requested. So I sent a public request to Christina Spurlock. I received an email back. They do not check for eligibility whether a person has any out-of-state felonies or felonies in state. They only get a list for jury duty purposes only. So that wasn't done. So I filled out 12 more public information requests to the election office and the recorder's office and to whomever it's supposed to. Received an email from Karina Sumner and elections stating they don't check eligibility. They only check to see if a candidate is listed on the voter list and is living in the area required for the position. So after many back and forth emails with Lydia Henry, a recorder, also Ms. Henry sent me an email. Mr. Rhodes registered on January 22nd, 2022 through the Arizona Department of Motor Vehicles. However, in her email that she sent me on the voter list, he was put on the voter list on January the 11th, 2022, 11 days before his application was received into the recorder's office. So I'm asking you, how is that possible?
The fact is, David Michael Rose is not eligible to hold his current office, any other office. He did register to vote. The case law is clear. I have three separate case precedents. The statutes 13907 and 908 require that an out-of-state felon file in the Superior Court. They don't even charge you.
So basically what I found out is in this last 2 weeks, no one verifies eligibility of the voter application from Mohave County or anywhere else in Arizona. The information on the voter list is not accurate because there's 11 days he was on the application before they even received it.
Here's the deal. If we can get 200 people to give $100 employees are end of the year going $20,000.
David Michael Rose said last night at the precinct committee meeting, oh, I double, triple checked. I'm good. I've got this thing from the state of Kentucky. Well, his lawyer, which represented himself as the school board lawyer, and representing him as the chairman, but Mr. Rose said last night that he hired him as his campaign lawyer, so we don't know who actually paid for the lawyer's time.
Chill out. Excuse me, brother. You got a second for the Lord? The Lord has sent me to you to collect. You know what I'm saying? I need some money for the funds of the church.
And I checked the court records, and Mr. Rose has never, ever filed in Superior Court to have his rights restored in Arizona.
Jesus, I need you right now. I don't know what this circumstances, how it's going to turn out, but I know that if I trust you, I know that if my faith is in you.
Our recorder, Lydia Henry, endorsed Mr. Rose for the position of LD 30, which it appears to me that that's misleading the public into thinking he's eligible to vote for verification. So my question to you today is, when Lydia Henry put out the post of Facebook that there's 194,000 plus voters in Mohave County, how many of those voters truly are eligible to vote? The answer is you don't know.
So if you come into Arizona with your driver's license from another state and you walk into the MVD and say, I want to get an Arizona driver's license, there's a little box you can check that says, do I want to register to vote?
Right.
And nobody checks if you're eligible or you're a felon or anything like that. So this guy had a lot of felony fraud charges, Pinellas County, Florida, a couple counties, I think, in Kentucky. But, you know, he went to prison, and then he went back to prison for violating parole. While he was in prison, he found Jesus, because we all know that's where Jesus lives.
Our goal, $3,000, and if we meet our goal, Pastor Tim, Pastor Jesse are going to dress like leprechauns.
He's out of prison, and so he pays this mail order online thing to become a pastor. The church, the thing that he went to, they don't even have a physical street address. They're just like, send us your check and we'll call you all good. So he lands in Lake Havasu City, and he starts this church. I mean, it's not a physical church. I think he rents space to hold, sermons and pass around the collection plate.
And so often we want to pull out our dollar bill, and then when we rob God, and then we're saying we're being generous, really we're not. We're tipping God like he's some servant or slave to us. Here, God, here's another dollar I'm going to put in the offering plate. Even though I know the church has a need and we want to meet the needs of the other people, there's my dollar. I've made a difference, and you haven't.
So, a surface recently of David Rose, and he's talking about Lake Havasu City, and he made the allegation that the first Friday's event that, people have set up vendor tents and everybody parties downtown on the main drag is probably, I'm sure in Havasu it's on McCullough. In Kingman we do it downtown on Beale Street and things. We always have the first Friday of every month. The community gets together and just has a community little party for everybody, all kinds of events and things going on. So David Rose is telling these people in Phoenix that Lake Havasu is full of witches because someone there is selling crystals.
Where we live in Lake Havasu, never have I seen, we're from Kentucky, and never, y'all couldn't tell, could you? Amen. But never in my life have I seen so much witchcraft other than New Orleans. And when we moved there, and they have this thing like they do in Phoenix called First Friday, and all the witches show up on First Friday and they set up their booths. And they got their crystals and they're doing whatever, tarot cards. And you know who's running to those booths? Their generation. See, church, the reason they're running to those booths is because they're hungry for the supernatural. They have a supernatural identity on their generation. And the reason they're running to those booths in Lake Havasu City is because there hasn't been a shandararabakashi.
When Alan Tempert got up here at the podium and guaranteed that no one would get past him and vote that is not eligible, how is that possible? The next question is for you, Mr. Borelli. You came down here and you gave a presentation on voter integrity, stating you wanted one-day voting, ballots on water marking, and hand count of the ballots. Did you know that voting applicants were not verified for eligibility to vote prior to being placed on the voter list? While you were in legislation for all those years and represented the people of Mohave County, was this never discussed? Was the basic process never examined? Would it not be in the best interest of the people and the integrity of voting process to verify eligibility of applicants prior to putting them on the voter list? I hear all the Republican candidates over the last few years talk about voter integrity on their campaign trails, but is that just a talking point for the votes? The fact that applicants registered to vote is not being verified for eligibility is a major concern to me, and I am sure many other voters in the Mohave County in Arizona. Because of this, I would like to request at this time it to be investigated and put on the agenda for to be addressed at your next Board of Supervisor meeting.
Okay, now I think that personally, in my opinion, is that Mr. Rose knows about as much about witchcraft as he does about Christianity from his mail order school. But, you know, this video surfaced, and he's telling them in Phoenix about Lake Havasu, and he starts speaking in tongues. You know, he spoke at one of our Republican meetings in Kingman, and someone asked him, you know, Mr. Rose, you said that you did time in prison, not county jail, not jail, there's a difference. Mr. Rose, you know, what were you in prison for? And he was very evasive, which, you know, raised red flags with me. And he said, oh, it was no big deal. It was just a probation violation, or parole violation.
Parole violation from what?
Exactly. So I realized he went back to jail from something he did the first time. So I said, I need to look into this guy. And a couple other people have been totally awesome for helping looking into this guy. And, you know, it came out that he had this lengthy track record, mostly financial fraud. And what really hit me hard was that in Kentucky, he tried, one of his scams was an independent newspaper, and he burned his investors and his girlfriend for tens of thousands of dollars. And yeah, I think he did like maybe 2 issues or something before he shut the thing down. And so as an independent journalist, I really take offense to that particular aspect of it. So when as I was able to verify information, in Arizona, if you're an out-of-state felon, you have to take any paperwork you have, even if your rights were restored in another state, Kentucky, Colorado, wherever. You have to take that paperwork and file for free in the Superior Court, and show the judge, and it's at the judge's discretion whether or not you have the right to vote or hold office in Arizona. Well, I checked the court records, and Mr. Rose had never done that. You know, Mr. Rose had never done anything, and here he was sitting illegally on the Lake Havasu School Board.
Oh, my God. On the school board, no less.
Yeah, chairman of the school board.
No less.
Ran on the MAGA team. They're the MAGA team. We got to get those leftists off the school board. Vote for the MAGA team. Apparently, the attorney, who's also on the school board on the MAGA team, didn't bother to vet Mr. Rose, or else he did, and he just kept his mouth shut. I don't know which. He can answer for himself on that. So I actually filed early in January, took all the evidence that I could verify, and I filed a criminal complaint with the Arizona Attorney General Public Corruptions Office. It was assigned to an investigator, and they are looking into whether or not he lied on the affidavits under penalty of perjury on the voter registration, on his campaign financials, saying he was eligible, whether he's holding office illegally. He turned in his signatures to be on the ballot for the 2026 Republican primary for the State House. And I'm going to break this little bit of news to you today. I just received an email, a tip, this afternoon, and I will be going over it this evening and sharing this information with the Attorney General's office on the open case. That I was able to, this person was able to get me all the dirt on Mr. Rose from Pinellas County, Florida, which I had previously not been able to verify. Because Kentucky only restored his rights. It's an automatic sort of just here's your certificate. If you were honest with us, if you fulfilled the requirements, your rights. But it said on the form only for Kentucky. So I knew that it didn't qualify for Arizona. So I couldn't, if he was not honest with the Department of Corrections in Kentucky, that he may have had an outstanding warrant or may have had felonies in Kentucky that were not restored or something, then that would completely, I think, moot the point of what he was given from the state of Kentucky. But regardless, it doesn't actually count for Arizona unless he files in Arizona pursuant to ARS 13908. So, you know, the Republican Party is falling all over this guy, the Havasu paper just can't. Every week he's in the paper. Oh, the chair. Oh, this is so wonderful. Lovely, lovely. Hello, he's not eligible. If he were a Democrat, the very same people supporting him would be screaming to have him indicted on felony charges. Whether it will happen, I don't know. But I am prepared. Arizona law basically says that once the deadline to turn in your signatures has concluded, which is March 23rd, then there is a 10-day window for anyone to challenge. This became public in September. Mr. Rose had time to withdraw from the school board, apply to Superior Court, get his ducks in a row, and still collect his signatures and be legally on the ballot, but he made the conscious choice not to do it.